Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a few weeks, but I've been a little under the weather, still there a little bit, so I apologize in advance. Also, I don't think I've talked about it here, but my wife and I are expecting our first child within the next month or so, so it's been a little busy and hectic around the house, but I'm going to be trying to give you as many mock drafts and free agent previews and off-season discussions as possible for the next several months, because this is the longest off-season in all of professional sports. But thank you so much for being here. Let's dive right in. And the first overall pick for the Chicago Bears, it is the most hotly debated first overall pick in recent memory. Does Caleb Williams want to go to Chicago? Is Justin Fields good enough to warrant keeping him and trading out of the first overall pick? Is Marvin Harrison Jr. the best prospect on the board and you should just take him there? I think when it's all said and done, though, Caleb Williams is going to be the first overall pick to the Bears. And at number 2, you've got the Commanders. I am not hiding my fandom today. They're definitely going quarterback, and it's going to be either Drake May or Jaden Daniels. And, I think I'd be fine with either. I think Jaden Daniels has the higher ceiling just because of his ability with his legs. He also, to me, throws a better deep ball, but I think Drake May really fits in with what Cliff Kingsbury's offense is. But I don't think it'll be Cliff's decision. I think it'll be Jaden Daniels right there at number 2. And number 3, that leaves the last quarterback on the board. And Drake May ends up with the Patriots, who that might be their number 1 guy on the board. We don't know. And Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to drop to the Cardinals at number 4. They're going to be thrilled. And this is kind of where the draft officially starts. I expect those 4 to be the first 4 off the board in some form or fashion. And then you get to the Chargers at 5, who need help at offensive line, and they need help probably at wide receiver with the big contracts coming up. Do they want to pay Keenan Allen and Mike Williams? Quentin Johnston wasn't what they wanted him to be, at least as a rookie. And then you've also got the possibility of Brock Bowers. And to me, he makes a lot of sense, especially with Jim Harbaugh coming in. He loves to utilize the tight end. So for me, it's either Joe Alt or Brock Bowers. And I've done this a few times, and it ends up being different guys. I'm going to go Joe Alt here. I think that you get a stud, franchise left tackle for the next 10 years, and you move on from there. So the Giants are up next. They have a very similar situation. Do we go tackle, or do we go wide receiver? Evan Neal, probably going to try him at guard this year or maybe trade him. He just hasn't been as good as they had hoped with the draft capital they invested. They do have Brown on the other side, who's been a great left tackle. So they really just need a right tackle, or they can move them around. So Fashanu's the possible pick there. You've also got Malik Neighbors and Rome Odunze. Depending on the mock draft that you look at, they're interchangeable. Me personally, I like Neighbors a little bit more. So I'm going to give them a wide receiver, give them their true wide receiver 1, and I think there's enough depth at either of those positions, wide receiver or left tackle, that they could get that in the second round as well. So you're to the Titans, and I think what makes the most sense here is Rome Odunze. They've got Hopkins, they've got I'm blanking on his name. I apologize. The younger wide receiver who was supposed to replace A.J. Brown but got hurt. But yeah, Rome Odunze comes in and is going to be a stud. Whether he's the 1 or the 2, he's going to be great in that offense and help out Will Levis. I think that you could also possibly look at Brock Bowers, but they've got some decent tight ends there. Their O-line's pretty solid. So the Falcons. The Falcons are an interesting one. They're going to probably try to trade up into the top 3 for a quarterback. There's also a chance that they are the team that gives up maybe a second-round pick for Justin Fields to address quarterback. Or J.J. McCarthy is creeping up draft boards, and it is a mystery to me. I think he's got a lot to show, and his pro day and potentially the combine are going to be huge for him. Because in Michigan, he basically handed the ball off 40 times a game, and they just rolled over people. And he was pretty consistent. He was pretty accurate. He's pretty good, but he doesn't feel like a top 10 pick to me. So I don't know that I could do that here. If you're a Falcons fan, let me know if you feel differently. Also, you've got Michael Penix and Bo Nix that are around here that people are all over the board on. I do think McCarthy, has moved up into that number 4 quarterback spot, though, pretty solidly. So to me, I think they're going to go with the edge rusher, Dallas Turner. I think it's the first defensive player off the board at 8. And we are back to the Bears at 9, where they can get either Olufashanu, Brock Bowers, or they can try to address their defense. To me, I think that they're going to probably balance it out and go defense. They need a wide receiver, but I don't think that there's a wide receiver worth taking this high. Keon Coleman or Brian Thomas Jr., maybe they trade back and try to get one of them, or maybe they'll try to get a wide receiver in the second round. They've got Cole Kmet at tight end, so I don't know. I mean, Brock Bowers is he's built different, I guess is what they would say, but he is not going to go here at number 9. I think that they're going to address the defense, and to me, it's either going to be Latu or Terrion Arnold. I think that they're going to try to build that secondary a little bit more, and I'm going to give them Terrion Arnold. And then this is as far as Brock Bowers is allowed to drop. He's going to go at number 10. There's no way the Jets let him get past them, and we move on. Fashanu, I know, seems to be dropping a little bit, and there's all 3 of these teams. You could tell me that they take him, and I wouldn't be surprised. The Vikings, however, are not one of the teams that I think would take him. They just need other things, unless they just think he's the best value. I think that they could go Latu here. There's a chance that they're going to lose Smith or Danielle Hunter, either one in free agency. So they might want to just replace one of them cheaply with a rookie, and he should be able to produce pretty quickly. Broncos are up next. I think that they're probably looking at Fashanu, or they're looking at Newton. And if they let Russell Wilson walk, maybe J.J. McCarthy. But as long as Russell Wilson's under contract, I'm not going to draft him right here. I'm going to go Fashanu at 12. I don't think he can drop anymore. If he made it to the Raiders, they're definitely taking him because it's a greater need. But I'm going to go Fashanu at 12 just because of the pure value. Let me know if you feel differently if you're a Broncos fan. I'm sure I'll hear about that. But the Raiders are up next, and this is where J.J. McCarthy is going to stop falling. Not that it's a fall for him to be in the top 15. I think most people didn't predict that about a month ago. So he ends up with the Raiders. They get their guy going forward, and hopefully they can figure out this Jimmy G situation and maybe recoup some of that money based on his current suspension. The Saints are up. Jerzon Newton or J.C. Latham or Fuaga is going to be the pick. They're all position of need. They're all the greatest value. And so really do you value the offensive line or the defensive line more right now? And I think for them, they're going to go Latham or Fuaga and build that offensive line a little bit. But then Fuaga stops dropping right there at 15. They need to protect Anthony Richardson. He is, in his very few games that he got to play last year, he was so clearly going to be, it was going to be between him and CJ Stroud for Rookie of the Year. If he stays healthy, who knows what happens, but he was electric. They just got to protect him a little bit more. The Seahawks are up. They could use some defensive help. And being that new coach Mike McDonald's there and he's a defensive guy, I think that they're going to go defense, and I think they're going to go with Newton and just block the middle of that line. He's a phenomenal run stopper, decent pass rush for being an interior guy. So the Jaguars are up at 17, and they need to figure out if they're going to be able to bring back Josh Allen, if they're going to be able to, if they're going to have to franchise tag him, or maybe they'll tag and trade. If he's still on the roster, I don't think that they go edge rush. Their defense does need some help, though, as well as their interior of their offensive line. But there's nobody really worth taking this early. You could make an argument for Powers Johnson or Zach Frazier, but I'm not going that direction. I think that they're going to need to build their secondary a little bit, and Nate Wiggins or Cooper DeJean are the choices here. They've got him listed as a safety, but I think DeJean's going to show at the combine he's still plenty athletic to play the cornerback position. But I am going to go with Nate Wiggins here and give them some secondary help. And then you've got the Bengals. Will they be able to keep T. Higgins? Is he worth keeping when you know you've got to pay Jamar Chase? I think we're going to go Keon Coleman, and they're going to let T. Higgins walk. Be very curious to see where he ends up. As a Commanders fan, I'm hoping they make a call. The Rams are up. Rams had a great season. Matt Stafford, showed that he's still got it, and they landed a freaking gold mine with Puka Nacua, who at the time of this recording, if you watched him in the NBA Celebrity Game, was pretty impressive. A couple dunks and a couple 4-pointers. It was great. But anyway, Rams, they just need the line. I think Jared Verse is the pick. Get you some more pass rush next to Aaron Donald. Make sure that somebody's always going to be able to have a one-on-one path to the quarterback. Steelers are up. They need quarterback. They need offensive line. Bo Nix, to me, is a very strong potential right here, and that's where I'm going. Kenny Pickett's not the answer. I'm tired of them thinking that if they keep trading or changing the offensive coordinator, that someone's going to be able to figure out how to make him work. No one was impressed with him when he was coming out in the draft. He was the first quarterback taken, but it was in the teens. To me, Bo Nix is better as a prospect. I know he's older, but he's better as a prospect than Kenny Pickett was coming out. So let's see what they can do with him. Dolphins are up. Offensive line or secondary is primarily what they need. I'm going to go with Cooper DeJean right here and just keep on moving. I mean, it's an easy pick to me. Him dropping this far is like when Kyle Hamilton made it to the Ravens. You put him in a secondary with Jalen Ramsey, and it's just a match made in heaven. Eagles are up. Their defense was atrocious last year, even though people are trying to point to Brian Johnson being the reason that things fell apart. The offense still put up good numbers. They were top 10 in most categories. They need help on defense, and they also need wide receiver just because of the contracts coming up. But I'm going to go with Kool-Aid McKinstry. I know that Kenyon Mitchell is rated higher on this board, but Kool-Aid came in at the beginning of the season as a top 10 pick. He didn't have a great season, but to me, he didn't do enough to drop out of the top 20. But, here he is. Texans are up. Did better than anybody expected. They need a wide receiver. Nico Collins, Noah Brown, Tank Dell, they're fine. They did well, but they need some more talent. And Brian Thomas Jr. is just an electric deep threat. CJ Stroud's got an amazing cannon of an arm. Great matchup. Dallas is up. They need some offensive line help. I think Powers Johnson is a strong possibility here, but I'm going to go Tyler Guyton. I think by the time that the draft comes around, Tyler Guyton should impress at the combine and his pro day. He might move up to be in the top 20, maybe even top 15, just because of how valuable the left tackle position is. And then you've got the Packers. Packers, similar situation, also need offensive line. Could use some help at edge rush. Chop Robinson he is going to bounce up and down boards all the time leading up to the combine and the draft, but I'm going to put him here. I think edge rush for the Packers, after they had a great run, you can't go wrong with a pass rusher or a pass protector, and so Chop Robinson's there. Buccaneers, they're going to keep Baker, so let's protect him. Let's give him a Marius Mims. Let's go Powers Johnson. I'm going to give them a center. It's not as valuable of a position typically as a tackle, but if you can avoid, especially being that Baker's a little shorter, if you can avoid pressure straight up the middle, that's probably the better thing than around the edge because he can run away from that. Cardinals are back up. We gave them Marvin Harrison Jr. With the first pick. Let's give them some help on the other side of the ball, and let's give them Byron Murphy the second out of Texas. Strong run stopper, can plug the holes, take on double teams. Great interior defensive lineman. Bills are up. They need secondary help, and there's not much else to it. I'm going to give them Cameron Kinchins. I just value his ability to be all over the field, and he tackles great in space. The Lions are up next. They also need corner, and this is as far as Mitchell can drop. They take care of a secondary that needs a little bit of help. And then the Ravens are up. They had a great year, and I don't think that you can truly point to anything that they didn't do well. They had the number 1 offense. They had the number 2 defense, I believe, or perhaps flip that. But they came to the playoff game and just couldn't get past Mahomes, which no one could because they won the Super Bowl. So to me, it's just continuing to protect your greatest asset, which is Lamar Jackson. Give him Graham Barton out of Duke, and he helps in the run game especially, and keep it moving. 49ers are up. The biggest thing that you probably need is offensive tackle. Trent Williams is going to retire at some point. You need the next guy. Maybe Mims is good enough to slot in at the right tackle to start and then take over for Williams when he does retire in the next 2 to 3 years. And then lastly, the Chiefs, they're going to get a wide receiver, Adonai Mitchell, and that is the draft. So let me know down in the comments what you think. I appreciate y'all being here, and I'll see y'all next time.